Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right. Welcome to this Thursday edition of Sidelines. We'll be with you for the next 2 hours talking college football, preaching the gospel. We got a great lineup today. Jimmy Hodge in transit from Lake Zurich to Knoxville. As he makes his way through some of the most hallowed ground in America, that being Amish country in southern Indiana. Get some baked goods and some leather belts and stuff, Jimmy. Let me know, and I'll Venmo you the money. But we got Dudley Dawson, Hogville.net, on with us here in the first segment. Segment 2, Gary Harris down in Tuscaloosa, WVUA TV 23, tied 100.9. He'll talk as well about that Alabama-Arkansas game coming up this weekend. Top of hour number 2, Brad Logan down in Mississippi, the Logan Media Network, talking about Ole Miss and Mississippi State. And segment number 4, we'll head back to Birmingham. Jocks, WJOX 94.5 FM. Damian Mitchell, one of the favorite sons, along with Tommy Agee of Maplesville, Alabama, talking SEC college football on all fronts. Give us a follow on Twitter at sidelines_live. Again, we're here with you every Monday through Saturday for 2 hours talking college football, basketball, baseball, recruiting. But Dudley, Jimmy, bring Dudley on here. Before we can go forward, we're going to have to pause a minute and just be still. Aaron Judge is up to bat. So just everybody hold still for a second. Nothing can be done. Jimmy, pull over to the side of the road. Dudley, everybody freeze. Okay. Well, I'm sorry. He did tie Roger Maris' record last night. And as a baseball, I love baseball as a purist. I still remember 1998, 99 when Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa, and I think Sosa had a visor coming out over his forehead. I question whether those home run numbers are legitimate. But anyway, 61 for Aaron Judge. He's still got some time left to break the record. And anyway, Dudley Dawson, Hogville.net, is on with us. And as a Cardinals, not just fan, but lifer. And again, if you are on the eastern front of the Sidelines listening audience, that's Braves territory. Out in the western front, Dudley, who's your team? Who's your daddy?
Well, obviously the Cardinals are,
Damn right.
For my life now. My wife's team is the Braves, so it can work both ways here. When the Cardinals eliminated the Braves a few years back, I celebrated, but I celebrated inside of a closet as not to piss her off.
There you go. I mean, the baseball, those fan bases are as rabid as SEC and Southern football and sports fans. So it is absolutely amazing. Big one coming up. I'm glad to have you back and hope you're doing well. Missed you last week. Otis Kirk was fantastic. Man, you Arkansas sports writers know your craft. You know the Razorbacks, but there's just something. It's kind of like we have a lot of Texas folks on now as we get ready for Texas and Oklahoma to come into the league. Man, you not only know the Razorbacks, but you get the big picture of college football, and it's just genuine, true grit journalism. Loved having Otis on. I know a lot of people, when I said he was going to be on, knew him, and glad to have you back. Dudley, big one this weekend, but the past weekend, I was so frustrated. I wanted to throw a TV through the window over here at the Cherry Farm in Parkin, Arkansas, watching it with a bunch of Razorbacks. Tough loss, but that's where Arkansas is now. They get furious after a loss as opposed to go back a couple of years. We know what it was like. This program is heading in the right direction for sure. But let's talk Hogs with Dudley Dawson.
Well, what I would say is I got well last week and Arkansas got sick. It was, just shot themselves in the foot. I think Arkansas is a better team than Texas A&M. If they played 10 times, I think Arkansas would win more of them. But, you just can't make those mistakes, especially in a tight game, and that's what happened.
Yeah. Dudley, when you look at KJ Jefferson going over from the 3 yards out and he puts the ball out, that was frustrating. That series, Arkansas and A&M, a lot of weird stuff happens. It's like the Auburn LSU series. But God, Razorbacks have got to be really, really wanting to get a win Saturday. How are they going to beat Alabama?
Well, considering that Saturday will be 5,280 days since Arkansas has beaten Alabama, that's quite a long time. They are going to have to, dang near play perfect. Alabama may not be as good as they have been in the past, but they still are a great football team. Number 2 in the country. That defense, especially the front seven, is incredible. Arkansas certainly has some explosive weapons, and they've used those during the start of the season. But you're going to have to play near perfect. You can't have the turnovers. Obviously there have been a lot of pointing fingers this week at KJ trying to fly, from the 3 or 4 yard line or whatever it was, in different things that cost them that game. But second and 30, you give up 32 yards. But I think this is a good football team. Certainly not. I don't think Arkansas is a great football team at this point. Ranked 10th was pretty, a little too high. I think 20, may be about right. We'll see as they go on the stretch here of Alabama, at Mississippi State, and then at BYU. Those are 3 very tough games. They could, be 4-3 really quickly, or third. I guess it would be
3-3. Yeah.
3-3. Yeah. So we'll see how it plays out. But the big thing for them is not to let Texas A&M beat them twice. And mental wise, Coach Pittman and the leaders of the team have spoke about putting that behind them. I know it's tough to do, but it does help, I think, when you're playing in Alabama instead of a non-conference opponent that maybe you would not have as much respect for.
Yeah, I like what Sam Pittman said after the game. I watched on SEC Network. He said, look, you go one of 2 ways after a loss. A team can go fall apart, or they can get closer. He goes, I believe this team, and I know this team will get closer. Jimmy Hodge, sounds like you got your head out the window. Is it Gordon Ford or Jimmy? But anyway, if you can hear us, jump in here talking with Dudley Dawson. Hogville.net as Alabama gets ready to travel out there to Fayetteville. And, man, I know a lot of people going. I don't know how they're going to put all of them in the stadium, but this is setting up to be a hell of a football game on Saturday.
Well, I've got to think that everybody associated with Arkansas football just has to be tremendously disappointed. I felt that the Hogs were in a great position to really get that series turned around with A&M with a second consecutive victory. And it really had to be hard to swallow that you had a 14-0 lead, and then you're 4 yards, 3 yards from going up by 2 scores again to really reestablish control of the game. It turns into a 90-yard touchdown return for A&M, and then they go on to score 23 consecutive points. And I agree. I mean, I don't think there's any question Arkansas is the better team. I think this is kind of a average A&M team, but with Max Johnson at quarterback, there's a pretty good chance you're not going to give any points away or have any foolish turnovers. And that's kind of what he provides for them. And, they were just able to hang on and win the game. But I was kind of disappointed, Dudley, at the end. I know the game came down to the field goal, but I thought that had Arkansas not used 2 timeouts in that situation, after missing the field goal, they would have at least had time to get the ball back. But with only 1 timeout left, they couldn't stop the clock. And, it was just a weird play. I've never seen a field goal hit the top of the upright like that before. And it was just kind of a fitting conclusion to just a bunch of bizarre games all around college football on Saturday.
Yeah, I think he has a lot of confidence in Cam Little. Thought he was going to make the field goal, and obviously, you probably won't see that again for quite a while with the ball hitting the top of the goalpost. But agree with you. You know, he spoke on it this week. Maybe would have done some stuff a little bit different. Certainly those 2 timeouts would have been something, you know, and we look back, the bad snap by Ricky Stromberg, who's one of the best offensive linemen in the country.
Yeah.
You know, it hitting his butt, much like the butt punt in Miami this weekend. You just don't see those things coming and you don't expect them. But yeah, I think that, you know, they're going to look back on this. I myself, you know, everybody's pointing out individual things, you know, pointing fingers or, you know, dissecting the game. I go back to them trying to establish Malik Hornsby on one series. They were at 14-0. Dominic Johnson had just reeled off, I think, 4 carries for 25, 30 yards, somewhere around in there. And then they decided to go to the package where you try to throw to Malik Hornsby, the backup quarterback who's been playing a little wide receiver. Then you try to run him. As soon as he came in the ball game, if I can point him out on the TV screen and know what they're going to do, then I'm sure that the SEC defensive coordinators can as well. I think Kendall Browse does a really good job with the offense, gets a lot of, you know, blame when things go wrong, but that's what happens when you're a high-profile position. But I do think that trying to establish that when you were running the ball down their throats was, you know, something that they're going to look back and say that, you know, probably should have done that. And I doubt that we see a lot of that this week, and certainly won't see it at 3 plays in a row.
Yeah, when I've never been a fan of, well, what that looks like to me is with Malik Hornsby, we just want to keep him happy, get him on the field so he doesn't go into the portal. And it's not an attack on him, it's on anybody. And you know, you're right. When he comes in there, let's guess what they're going to do. But you're not the ordinary fan. You know, you're very smart. You got a very high football mind. But Arkansas led the SEC in rushing last year. That's their identity. That's their personality. That's what they do. And you know, you're right. Ricky Stromberg, that offensive line of Arkansas has a bunch of snaps together as a unit. I'd lean on them, and I would lean on them again Saturday against Alabama. They're just that tough, and they're that well coached. You don't see that on a lot of schools in the SEC. You see some of the worst offensive line play I've ever seen at other schools, but not at Arkansas. It will not happen with Sam Pittman as the coach.
Yeah, and I go back and you know, I'm biased, I admit it. When you played for Bill Keedy at Newport High School, again, we had a balanced offense. So we would pass the ball 3 times, once left, once right, once over the middle, and run it all the other times. So my philosophy has always been, you know, rooted in that. And when it's going, I think you just need to stick with it.
Yeah. We were speaking of Newport, Jim Cherry and I were over there Sunday looking at one of our hunting spots, and went to the Sonic, got the old side-by-side stuck in the mud. And I mean, it took us 45 minutes at that pressure wash thing there. And they actually had an employee working there, very nice lady, Rena, that was helping us. But I mean, we had to use 2 of those hoses to get in there. But man, I'll say this about Newport. That's a clean, nice town. And it's got hotels, it's got restaurants. As a duck hunter, I don't know much more that you need other than some cold beer. But I did not see Balch because we went to 64 around Fair Oaks and went north, and I didn't go through Balch. Is that north of Newport, east, west, or where is it? Dudley? Okay.
Past Midway, the little spot, you know, they're just a little ways from Wallenberg and Wiener. You take a left. I'm not real good with directions.
No, you're going back east.
Yeah, you
okay.
have to find Balch. You have to be looking for it. So
well, I was, but
you have to know how to get there.
Once we got off into the where the timber along Village Creek there, it's going to be fun. Once it floods, it's going to be different, but we still got stuck. I mean, it was like quicksand, but man, it's just beautiful over there. And Dudley, I'm telling you, the Razorback fans are different now. They're like, okay, we got beat. They're mad because they know that. Will Anderson, Dallas Turner, that Alabama defense they're going to come at KJ Jefferson from the edge all day long. Man, if Alabama can establish the running game between the tackles, Dudley, if Arkansas can establish the running game between the tackles, that keeps this game close. But if they can't, how does Arkansas overcome it? You got Jaden Hazelwood. You got some good receivers that are coming up. You just hope that KJ Jefferson doesn't run it too much. What would you see where I'm going with that? I mean, he is a force, but you can only take so many hits in football.
Yeah, they're going to have to establish the line of scrimmage both ways on both offense and defense, and that's tough when you're playing against a team like Alabama. There's no other way to win than doing that. You can't have the turnovers. Obviously, you've got to have Alabama not play their A game. You got to put some pressure on Bryce Young, which is easier said than done. I don't know that he has as great a wide receiver certainly as he did last year, but they still they're still talented players and get open. You just have to establish that line of scrimmage. And as I pointed out earlier, when you've gone 5,280 days, which is what it will be since Arkansas beat an Alabama team in 2006 here, then that's you just have to do everything perfect. I had a buddy tell me that he thought Arkansas would win this weekend or had a chance to win because they had Hart. And I said, well, Hart is, it's nice to have and all that, but I'll take better athletes, better coaching. And, Arkansas is home, so we'll see. But, yeah, you just have to play dang near perfect, and you have to have Alabama help you a little bit.
Yeah.
They did at Texas.
Yeah. Let's do this. Let's take a quick commercial break here. Kicks 96.3, Alex City, Lake Martin, 680 in Atlanta, and all over listening with more Dudley Dawson, Jimmy Hodge talking about Arkansas and Alabama after this quick break.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
As we continue, hold on. Aaron Judge he's eating breakfast. We don't need to stop the presses for that one. But look, this game, Jimmy, going into the break, talking about it, I'm with Dudley. I'd rather have better athletes, more depth and everything like that. It's a good Alabama team. I think the trap a lot of people are going to fall into that are picking this game, they're going to say, well, the one time Alabama played a really quality opponent this season was when they went on the road to Texas and they barely won the game. But here's the thing. They won the game. And a game like that, I believe, pulls a team closer because they'll listen to the coaches and they say, you see why we keep telling you to do this, this, and this? What do you think Alabama going into this game, their mindset is? Because they destroyed Vanderbilt, Utah State, La Monroe, struggled with Texas. And here's Arkansas that's played, Cincinnati. They played South Carolina. They had another game. They lost the A&M game. Who's mentally more just ready to go out there and prove that they belong? All right, Jimmy. Dudley, I don't know where Jimmy is.
That other game was Missouri State and
I know that I drew a blank there, and that was a lot closer. But you called that game, Dudley. You said that would be a very competitive game, and I just checked. Bobby Petrino did not give his brain away. I mean, that guy can flat out coach, can he?
Yeah, and it was really interesting after the game being in there with for his post game press conference. He was hadn't been on here since then. I don't think he was remarkably humble. It was good to see. Great offensive mind. Somebody who that you can never take away from. He had his team ready to play, and they've had like 30 guys from different Division I schools transfer in there. He's got a great quarterback in Jason Shelley. So that you thought it woke Arkansas up, but obviously, when they went into halftime behind or ahead of Texas A&M 14-13, Coach Pittman talked about how it was like the locker room was down and sad. He was like, we're still leading here, with all the mistakes, and then just had a pitiful third quarter and didn't have enough, in the fourth quarter to put them away.
Yeah, and I look at Alabama as a team. We all know, they're sitting there right behind Georgia. But I like the fact that Arkansas started off with Cincinnati, and this is a tough schedule. And any team that Bobby Petrino coaches, they're going to be a fundamentally sound team. I want to ask you now, let's shift the focus. In-state recruiting for Arkansas. And I know people will say there's less than 3 million people, and that's not news to any of us. But I think as the Razorbacks improve, and now you're looking at in 2025, Arkansas State and Arkansas are going to play a football game against each other, that will, I think, increase participation for high school football. But I think last year, if I'm correct, I think I read it, that Arkansas signed 8 or 9 of the top 10 players in state. That's the first time they've done that in a long time. Is that trend? I can't help but think that's continuing, but who are some of the big targets that Arkansas has on their radar?
Well, the 2022 class was a great one for Arkansas. Several of those kids are playing, including Quincy McAdoo making a big fumble recovery from the guy from over there from Clarendon that made a big fumble recovery last week of Bryce Stevens. The 2023 class is not as good as the 2024 one. That's going to be a big step in the program to get the 2024 guys like Braylon Russell, who's now at Benton, who's already committed. They'll have some big offensive linemen there. But what Arkansas and this staff is doing that makes it even better, you're doing a great job at locking down your state. But Coach Pittman and his staff also have a lot of great connections in a lot of different states. So they're being not able to only get the best here in Arkansas, but get maybe higher quality guys from other states because of all those connections than they have in the past. Arkansas is nowhere near where Alabama is in terms of 1 to 85, but they have improved from where they were in recent years. At least from 1 to 22.
Yeah, and I look at it. Just when you go to games like in Arkansas, the interest in high school football is big. Little Rock's a big population center. Fort Smith, after that, they play some really good football all over the state. And they go into Missouri, go into Memphis and get 2 or 3 kids. Louisiana, Texas, obviously. How important is just playing in the state of Texas? Obviously, Arkansas wanted that win badly, but they've got a lot of alumni, a lot of fans in Texas. Getting your name out there can only help.
Yeah, and Tulsa is another region to mention. It's closer to Fayetteville than Little Rock is, and they've added several kids from Tulsa and the surrounding area here lately. As far as playing in Texas and playing at Jerry's World in Arlington, I'm all for it, especially if the Cowboys have a game the next day. When they first started doing this and Arkansas was in the SEC, I thought it would have more of an impact than it did. It is certainly nice to be able to bring kids to the game if you're the home team that year in the neutral series, and it's also important that those players' families and you get impact there. But it's in 2025. I guess it's going to go back to home and home. I think that is probably a better deal now. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't play, a game there every once in a while after that. But I think home and home, and next year you don't have a home game in October. I don't think, and that's nuts. And you're playing your first game against Western Carolina and Little Rock, which is they don't have many games down there now. So why I think it's important, I think it's run its course, and they're probably going back to home, and I feel safe in saying that if Arkansas had played Texas A&M here last Saturday, they would have won the ball game, and I pretty much think if they played at Texas A&M, Texas A&M probably would have won there.
Dudley, is this a fair and accurate assessment if I say I think Arkansas fans feel a lot like Auburn fans felt playing the game in Birmingham against Alabama? Coach Dye, one time Auburn was staying downtown at a hotel. I remember this when I was in school there, and Auburn had the entire hotel booked, the team, all the support staff. That's stroking a big check, if you know what I mean. And Coach Dye was down there at breakfast, and a bunch of the servers had on Alabama stuff, and he got the manager over there, and Coach Dye could be pretty intense and I mean brutally honest, and said, let me say something to you. Y'all need to get everybody dressed the right way. Apparently they got them Auburn stuff, and they all came back down wearing Auburn stuff. He said, who's paying your bill? But he would always say the people parking the cars, taking up the tickets at the gate and selling all the concessions are all wearing Alabama stuff. And it's nothing against them. It's just Alabama used to play 3 or 4 games a year there. And after 1978, Auburn in 1980 expanded their stadium to be bigger than Legion Field 42 years ago. I think that's why when they moved the game to Auburn December 2nd of 89, man, Auburn caught the wrath of some people. I think that's how Arkansas people feel, and I believe you're right. When you start playing Fayetteville, I don't know who Donald Reynolds is. Is he the aluminum guy? Because my dad told me as a young kid, bauxite is all over Arkansas. That's how you make aluminum. But I have a feeling that rivalry is there's going to be a gigantic shift in Arkansas's favor when they start playing home and home.
Yeah, I think it's an economic situation as well. Obviously, you get $5 million a year each time you play down there, so that's been good for the bank and coffers and all that. But also, it taking that trip down there instead of taking the trip to Little Rock or Fayetteville costs a lot of money. And these days, with the economy the way it is, it's tough for people to make that decision when they can sit at home and watch it and really enjoy a lot of the comfort. So I think that's another the factor that goes into the decision. It was real strange for me, having been off the surgery, watching the game at home on Saturday. I'm usually at the games, whether they're here or away, and it was just, I got a great angle, great views, great commentary and all that, but I still think there's nothing like being at the game, and you want to have as many on campus as you can.
Yeah, and I think that A&M Stadium is 107,000 or whatever, but Razorback Stadium at full capacity is what, 78,000?
78,000, I think you could squeeze in there.
Okay. Can you tell me, though, we had this discussion, Jim Cherry and I, who's a lifelong Razorback graduate, he's got a son up there right now, and he and Michael Sag, a bunch of my friends are going up to the game. We had this discussion yesterday over at the farm. Tell us, what's the story behind Donald Reynolds Razorback Stadium? Obviously, he's a big supporter or was of the Razorbacks.
Yeah, he's involved with Walmart and all those things as well. I don't know a lot about him. He and I don't run in the same circles.
I didn't know if y'all were neighbors or whatever.
No, but he certainly has done a lot for the university in the area. The Waltons, the Cronkies, the Reynolds, all those very successful people have been very nice. You got to give Frank Broyles a lot of credit for what he did in building the program, building the facilities. I mean, remember when I was first coming to games up here 40 years ago, it was a 30,000 seat stadium, didn't have lights. That's why they played in Little Rock so much. And now it's a palace, and at times they have more seats than they need. But, obviously the success of the program that Coach Pippen's had has brought the crowds back out. And I'm sure people are going to be hanging from the rafters this week, even though you feel the sense of disappointment going into the game, because They all thought game day was going to be here. They all thought it was going to be a top 10 matchup, and it certainly looked like that after the first quarter and up until the series that I talked about where they decided to go east-west instead of north-south, which are Coach Pittman's favorite two directions.
Yeah. Well, an interesting thing, you mentioned about Frank Broyles and Tim Horton has told me this so many times, and Franz Beard, our friend at GatorbaitMedia.com said, how Frank Broyles got all those families together in Arkansas rowing in the same direction. And I think what could happen at other places like Auburn, if everybody was rowing in the same direction, but man, when you are in the state of Arkansas, you can feel the Razorback pride. And this is the ECS House Industries Razorback Report. Our friend Chad House is listening right now over in Cherry Valley. They're working away right now. But, man, Dudley, you've got a fun – it's not a job, it's a career. It's a way of life for you right now. But last question, did you know Coach Broyles, and did you ever get to spend much time just in his office and just listen to his philosophy about coaching and management and business? Because in my opinion, all these big contracts and the big business support and donor support of universities around the country really started with his idea of getting deals for the coaches at Arkansas to get into the business and stuff. And now look what's happened. I think he started it all.
Yeah, I got the opportunity to cover him or be around him for 36 years. After I came up here in 1981, I was just certain at one point that I was going to play strong safety for the Razorbacks. Obviously he was no longer the coach after 76, but I was just sure he was going to offer me a scholarship back then when I was growing up. It is, he did great things here. Obviously there's some missteps along the way, as there is with all of us, but, a great man and somebody who really built this program, him and John Barnahill, you have to give a lot of credit to for how it is today, because they got it going back then. And thank goodness that Coach Broyles did not get the Northwestern job, which is the one he wanted, went to Missouri for a year and then ended up here.
Yeah, and I think his salary went from $10,000 to $15,000 a year in 1958 when he came to Arkansas. That's incredible. Dudley Dawson, Hogville.net. People need to be following you. You are fantastic. The pride of Balch, a suburb of Newport, Arkansas. But we love having you on and appreciate your time.
Yeah, I don't know about that fantastic, but I do know that I'm the best sports writer ever from Balch because I'm the only sports writer ever.
There you go. All right. Tell people how they can follow you. And you also put out a lot of great stuff on Twitter.
Yeah, I'm Dead Sports on Twitter. That's for Dudley Eugene Dawson.
I love it.
I've loved having that Twitter handle. But and Hogville.net I obviously work for, and then be back at it with Fearless Friday, FearlessFriday.com, our high school site this weekend. Enjoying that. So,
all right. Dudley, thank you so much. Have a great week. We'll talk to you next Thursday.
All right. Thanks.
All right, you bet. That is the ECS House Industries Razorback Report with Dudley Dawson of Hogville.net. All right, we're going to head down. Golly, man, let's head to Tuscaloosa. I was there, last week on the way back from the Auburn-Penn State funeral game. But anyway, Dud, we've got Gary Harris, Tide 100.9, WVUA TV Channel 23. We're talking with Dudley Dawson about the Arkansas Alabama game and their season so far. Now we're going to flip and hear from your side, Alabama. They're sitting there at 4-0. You've got a lot of Larry Munson in you, and that's a good thing because you do think about, you can't get too high on yourself and all. Arkansas is going to be a dangerous opponent up in the hills Saturday afternoon, but Alabama is 4-0, and I think the best thing I've seen so far, you're right, winning that close game on the road at Texas, I think has this team very focused. Gary? Okay. Well, let's see. We're going to do this. Gary Harris from Tide 100.9, if you can get back into us. But we're going to be back with him in just a second. But I will say this, Arkansas, Dudley Dawson made a point about, look, the Razorback fans, there is some worry. You're playing Alabama. I mean, they will do that to you. That's a team that has won 6 national championships in the last 15 years and played for 2 or 3 others. There's nothing else like them. Now, Georgia is trying to unseat them from being at the top of the football world. I think this game, if Arkansas is able to run the ball between the tackles, will be close. How close in the fourth quarter? It's going to get down to depth. Alabama has a lot of talent on that roster. No doubt about it. And I fully expect, though, a full 60 out of both teams. I would expect nothing less from a Sam Pittman or a Nick Saban coached team. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break and be back with more sidelines after this.
Kitchens and bathrooms make a home, and the design teams at Kitchens Unlimited know how to make kitchens and baths. They know it all because they have seen it all. Kitchens Unlimited has been designing and remodeling the Mid-South's kitchens and baths for over 50 years. Check out their showroom at 3550 Summer Avenue or visit them on the web at kitchensunlimited.net.
If you have a crash, dent or ding, go to G.E. Patterson and BBG for Tom Martin's Body Shop.
Come on down to Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company, located on Historical Square in Collierville, Tennessee. Hewlett & Dunn is the second largest Filson dealer in the Southeast, stocked with Southern brands you know and trust. And a new inventory arriving all the time. Do yourself or someone you know and love a favor and visit this store. Open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
As an agricultural producer, no matter where you farm, minimum tillage is a primary concern each and every season. At House Industries in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, we manufacture equipment to help you maximize efficiency when planting and watering a crop. Pieces like the pulverizer, bedder roller, 3-bar do-all, and bed conditioner assist you in optimizing seedbed preparation and ultimately your bottom line. Visit HouseIndustriesInc.com to locate the dealer nearest you.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at HouseIndustriesInc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
Rob Browne, we are back now with Gary Harris in Tuscaloosa. And Gary, Alabama, Arkansas. This is an actual SEC road game, although Texas will be an SEC road game in a couple of years. But let's talk about Alabama, how they're going to win this game.
Well, I think they're going to have to, control the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. Arkansas is a big physical football team, and they certainly have an identity under Sam Pittman. They know who they are. And I think for Alabama, the first thing you want to do is match that physicality. I do think
I do think Alabama has an advantage at the skill positions. I know Rocket Sanders is an outstanding running back for Arkansas, and they've got some big physical wide receivers, and obviously KJ Jefferson is a beast on offense, and the two inside linebackers are really, really, really good. I think the secondary is suspect. And remember that last year, Bryce Young lit them up for 559 yards, which is a single game Alabama passing record, breaking that 484 mark of Scott Hunter that stood for 50 years. And he threw for 5 touchdowns. So I think offensively, Alabama's going to be able to move the football. The key is, will Alabama be able to hold up defensively? Last year, even though they had an incredible offensive game, Arkansas made big plays in that game too. Jefferson made big plays with his legs and with his arm, Rob, in that game, and it was 42-35. You know, it was a really good game, and you know, Arkansas gave Alabama all they wanted. So I think for Alabama, it's just be physical, be prepared to play. You know, play Alabama football. And if they do that, as we talk about often, Rob, if Alabama plays its best and you play your best, I'm going to take Alabama probably 99.9% of the time. Having said that, if Alabama doesn't play its best, Arkansas is one of those teams that is good enough to beat Alabama. So I think really for the key for, you know, Alabama is just to go up there, play clean football, you know, don't turn it over, make sure that every position ends in a kick, and I think they'll be okay.
When Alabama played Vanderbilt this past Saturday, what did Alabama do to get better? We talked about that game last week.
Yeah,
we knew that Alabama would win. I mean, we felt certain they would, and they did, but it's always about how they got better. So where did they improve on offense, defense, special teams, anywhere in particular?
I thought everywhere. And that was, we did talk about that last week. And then when I watched the game, watched the most of it from the press box, but did go down on the sidelines there midway through the fourth quarter when they let you go down. And in the press box, though, I watched the game a little differently than I normally do. Normally, I'm like everybody else. I follow the ball, and I did for a large part of that game too. But I also had my binoculars, and on certain plays, I would watch certain position groups. So, you know, whether it was the defensive line or the offensive line or the wide receivers or the secondary or whatever it might be, I was just watching, you know, some different groups. But I thought Alabama got better across the board. And I know a lot of people are going to say that it's Vanderbilt, and that's what I've heard a lot of this week on my show. But I think Vanderbilt's an improved football team. They're in the SEC. They were 3-1. They went up to Northern Illinois and beat a Northern Illinois team that went into Lexington and gave Kentucky some trouble. So I liked what I saw from Alabama last week. Complete domination, Rob, in every aspect of the game: punting, kicking, defense, offense, run game, run defense, passing game, passing defense, 600 plus total yards to a little over 100 total yards, 55-3. So I thought that was the key. I thought Alabama got a lot better. And I think they're playing really good football right now. I think they've gotten better every game. The Texas game was a learning experience on the road. I think that will help them on Saturday. And I feel really good about where this Alabama football team is at heading into this big SEC road game.
You look at some of the players for Alabama that coming into the season transfers, like Jermaine Burton came over. He's a California guy that I think in high school knew Bryce Young. That's probably why he's over there. And then you got Jahmyr Gibbs out of Dalton, Georgia, played at Georgia Tech last year. Evaluate him as a running back. Is he everything expected or better, or where is he?
I think he's exactly what everybody expected him to be. He's a dynamic playmaker out of the backfield, both in the run game and in the pass game. Tremendous receiver, great in space. You know, he's not the biggest guy, but he's got that Alvin Kamara type of ability. He's more powerful than you think he is if you just looked at him. But when you watch him run, he runs with power, but obviously runs with elusiveness too. I think he's everything that everybody thought he was. He's a terrific football player. And as far as Burton is concerned, he's getting better and better. He's getting more and more comfortable in the system. And I think that he's really going to have a terrific second half of the season. I do think there's been an adjustment coming from Georgia to Alabama, even though he wanted to come over here and play with Bryce, and they worked hard in the offseason. You still have to get game reps, I think, to really understand the way someone plays. And I think that he and Bryce are coming together now. And I look for Burton to have, a big game Saturday and big games going forward. I really like where he's at. And, of course, the other transfer on offense is the left tackle Tyler Steen, who played against his old school Vanderbilt and had a really good game. And then on defense, Eli Ricks has been a little, I'm not going to say slow, but, he's not starting right now. They're playing 4 quarterbacks, Alabama is. They're starting Arnold and McKinstry. and also playing Kyrie Jackson and Eli Ricks. So all those transfers are playing quality football for Alabama. But as far as Gibbs is concerned, yeah, he's a guy that every time he touches it, he's got a chance to take it the distance. He's been really good.
I like the quote. It was an answer from Tyler Steen, the offensive lineman who transferred to Alabama from Vanderbilt. So what's the difference in playing at Vanderbilt and playing now at Alabama? Well, at Vanderbilt, it was all about being competitive. At Alabama, it's all about domination. That's pretty powerful stuff. Jimmy Hodge. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, hey, Jimmy. All right.
No. I was just going to say, Jimmy, you're back with us right now. I think Gary, when he goes from Chicago to Knoxville, I think he's down there in Butcher Holler, Kentucky, where Loretta Lynn was from. But right. Jimmy, can you hear us?
Well, yeah, unbeknownst to me, I was not aware that all the way from Indianapolis up to basically Lake Michigan on Interstate 65, they're expanding the whole thing. And it's less than ideal, but anyway.
Well, wait till you get to Amish country. It'll get better.
Yeah, now I'm approaching Amish company now, and it's much better. But anyway, you don't have 8 lanes each way and all that stuff, so it is better. But hey, Gary, one thing I wanted to ask you was, despite the opponent, Vanderbilt, a lot of people will say, well, it's Vanderbilt, and you should be able to have a performance like that. But I felt that Saturday was the best game Alabama had played in a while. It just seemed, especially offensively, they were focused, they looked sharp, they got their wide receivers involved in the offense almost immediately, and they just really looked like an elite team. And then Will Anderson, for him, it was kind of a return to what we've seen the previous 2 years. I mean, he was almost a one-man wrecking crew out there. And I've got to think that this is really a good sign, because coming into this game in Fayetteville, a lot of people don't realize, but you can bet a lot of the media critics around the country do. They're the first to mention that 4 out of the last 5 Alabama road games have been decided by 3 points or less. So you've got to think that Alabama is really anxious to go out to Fayetteville and, just show some people that this program is really starting to come around.
Yeah, and Rob and I, Jimmy, covered some of that while you were trying to get on the line about Alabama's performance against Vanderbilt. I agree with you 100%. I thought that it was their best game, their best performance since the SEC championship game last year against Georgia. I did think that they played Alabama football, and they looked as dominant on Saturday night as any of the great Alabama teams that we've seen through the years under Nick Saban. I mean, they just took Vanderbilt out of the game very early, and as I said, in every aspect, there's not anything that happened in that game that Alabama wasn't good at on Saturday night. So yeah, you have to feel really good with where they're at. I mean, I look at this football team, and I've watched 3 games in person. I did not go to Austin, but I watched it on television, and I think that this team is a lot better right now than when they ran out of the tunnel to play Utah State in the opener. And that's good. That's what you want. You want to get better, regardless of what level your program is at, and you want your team to improve. And you're right, Jimmy, too, about the road woes, if you want to call them that. I mean, I think Alabama's held to such a different standard. If most of these schools go and win an SEC road game where they win by 1 point or by 25 points, it's considered a big win. But Alabama has not won as impressively on the road as we're accustomed to them doing. And of course, we know they lost last year at Texas A&M. So that's been pointed out and nitpicked all season long, particularly with what happened at Texas. You win that game by a point. So there's no reason for them not to be prepared and ready to go. They're playing their best football right now. They understand the challenge of going to Fayetteville on Saturday afternoon. They know what people are saying about them. I think this is an opportunity on the SEC game of the week on CBS to go out there and make a statement that, hey, this Alabama football team is right up there with any of them that you've seen in the last 15 years. And they can do that by playing well and beating a good Vanderbilt team by more than, a field goal or 4 or 5 points. If they can go up there on the road and get a double-digit win, I think that'll speak volumes as to where Alabama is at. Because this Arkansas team, as I said, if Alabama doesn't play its best, they don't play well, then Arkansas is capable of winning the game.
Yeah, I got to say this too. Nick Saban's got to be loving a lot of the narratives out there in the national sports media. Is Georgia the new Alabama? If I'm Nick Saban, I'm loving that. I'm absolutely using that as part of my daily game plan to coach my players. So here's Arkansas. Jimmy, great facts right there. 4 of Alabama's last 5 road games, they've won by 3 points or less. I mean, that's pretty.
They lost one of them.
They lost one of them.
A&M.
Yeah, at A&M. That was a shootout. And I'll never forget Mallory at the wedding. How can Alabama lose on the night of my wedding? Jimmy, Jessica Rich's daughter said the same thing to me. She goes, how can this happen? I said, well, I don't know if A&M knew that Mallory was getting married tonight, but man, I tell you what, Gary, I like your approach. You've got a lot of coach in you, as Jimmy does. And I just think Georgia is playing lights out. Okay. But look what they did. We talked to Jordan Hill of 24/7 Sports yesterday, who covers Georgia for Sidelines. Great reporter. And that was 39-22, but it was a wake up call or whatever. I think Alabama going on the road Saturday, they'll be heading out there tomorrow, but they will be a different team mentally. I think Nick Saban has probably told them, you saw what happened in Austin. Everybody was talking about how Alabama was going to drop 40 or 50 on Texas. And we were in a fight for our lives. It's going to take everybody. That's where I see him going into this game.
Yeah, I agree. I think that Nick Saban has been on point all week. Listening to him in his 2 press conferences, really all season, I think he's been on point. I think, again, he understands you can't take winning for granted. He respects what it takes to win. And I think that he's constantly preaching that to his football team, that nothing is guaranteed. And if you don't play your best, and if you're not prepared during the week to go out there and play well, that you can get beat. And there's no excuses. I mean, I think this Alabama team, to have the game that they had out in Austin and get the win, like Saban says, you hope you don't have to suffer the pain of defeat to learn a lesson. And I think that was a good wake-up call for Alabama, but they got the win and they got out of there. So we'll see. All these things that we're talking about this morning, Rob and Jimmy, we'll see if it manifests itself for Alabama on the field on Saturday. And if they're able to go on the road and have an impressive win, although I will say this, again, the bottom line is winning, whether they win by 17, 20 points or 1 point, they'll take it. But I think they're going to play well. And if Alabama plays well, as I've said many times on this show, Alabama's best against your best, I'm taking Alabama still against anybody in the country. If Alabama plays its best, I'm going to take the Tide. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. One other one, your interns there at the TV station, the young ones think that Alabama's going to win every game 49-0. What are they saying about this matchup at Arkansas?
Well, I think I think they feel like what you just said is going to happen, that Alabama's going to win handily. But I do think most of them that I've talked to, and I'm around them every day, both at the radio station and at the TV station, do feel like Arkansas is a good team and have been impressed with what Sam Pittman's been able to do there. He came back after being the offensive line coach at Arkansas, and then at Georgia came back and has taken over that program when it was on very lean times. And we always hear about culture change when these coaches come in, but I think in Sam Pittman's case, you really have seen it. I mean, they're a physical football team. They play hard for 60 minutes in the game. They don't seem to let what's happening on the scoreboard affect the way that they play. And to me, that's what great coaches do. Their players play hard, play with effort, and regardless of what's going on in the game. And when I saw Arkansas last year here in Tuscaloosa, they had some chances, opportunities Alabama had in that game to put that game away, and Arkansas just wouldn't let them do it. I mean, Bryce would hit a long play to Jamison Williams, and you would think, well, here we go. And then Arkansas, KJ Jefferson would answer with a pass.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, Burks would reel one in, and they would score touchdowns. So I think the kids feel like Alabama's going to win the game, but that Arkansas is a good team. That's the thing. I guess the biggest compliment you can pay Sam Pittman, I think, Rob and Jimmy, is that people realize that Arkansas is a good team.
Yeah.
You don't talk to anybody that covers SEC football that tells you otherwise. They all know Arkansas is a good team. He's a good coach. They're building a good program, and they're not an easy out for anybody.
No. Hey, Gary, we got just a few seconds left before the break. Tell people how they can follow you, and look forward to having you on next week.
Yeah, you can follow me at WVOA23.com. That's the TV station website. We stream our newscasts live, Tider Insider TV, Football Friday at the radio station, Tide109.com. Download the Tide 109 app. You listen to Tuscaloosa Sports Talk anytime, or it streams live at Tide109.com. I'm on the radio every morning from 9 to 11 Central, on TV every night at 5, 6, and 10. Tider Insider TV's Tuesday nights at 6:30. Thank you, guys.
Hey, absolutely love it. True grit journalism down in Tuscaloosa. Jimmy, we're about to go to a break. We're going to be back on with Brad Logan, Logan Media Network. He's got a tight 15-minute window before he does a live shot. Of course, he does a lot of TV and everything. He is a movie star, rock star. But great assessment. My takeaway from what Gary Harris just said is, hey, if Alabama plays their best, it's hard for anybody in the country, the NFL, to beat that team. But we're going to be right back with more. Thanks, everybody, listening out on Lake Martin, Kicks 96.3 Country. We love you. We appreciate you, and we'll be right back to talk with you.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Rob Browne back with Jimmy Hodge, waiting for Brad Logan to call in. Logan Media Network, talking about Ole Miss. Jimmy, this Arkansas-Alabama game, quickly, because I know Brad's going to be on here with us, but if you're Alabama, what are you most concerned about? I wouldn't say scared, but what's keeping you working late hours up in your office if you're an Alabama defensive coordinator?
Well, just not losing focus. Concentrate on consistency. The last thing you want to be is have a performance like you had against Vanderbilt last week, and then you come out flat against Arkansas. But I just don't think the chances of that are high just because of what happened in Austin. I think that was a wake-up call for Alabama, and that just reminded them that if you're not ready to play, you're going to struggle against everybody, because in the SEC West especially, everybody has good football players. And Arkansas is going to be really hyped at the beginning of the game. The stadium's going to be electric. The players, the coaching staff are going to be ready to go, because they want to end that 15-game losing streak. And they think, playing at home, if they're executing properly, they've got a chance to beat anybody because they are light years ahead of where they were 2 years ago in Sam Pittman's first year. And, they've got more talented players and a lot more of them than they did 2 years ago.
Jimmy, I'll tell you what, this game, I'm going to ask you this one quickly. 2010, Alabama goes in number 1 on the road at South Carolina. Stephen Garcia has the game of his life. And Alabama was the defending national champion. You had Greg McElroy. Now you got Bryce Young. But you had South Carolina in 2010, ended up going and playing in the SEC championship game against Auburn, losing 56-17. But the next 3 years, they had 11 wins in 2011, 12, and 13. Arkansas is building that kind of momentum. You see a game like that happening. That's the worst case scenario for Alabama.
No, I don't. Just looking at the game from strictly a viewpoint from someone that watches a lot of games all over the country, and even Arkansas fans and the Arkansas media are very concerned about the Hogs secondary and losing a player like Catalan. I mean, you don't replace a player like that. You just try to do the best you can in filling that spot. But their secondary is a big problem, and the fact that Alabama really got their receiver core involved in the game early last week, I think was really encouraging for them. I think Alabama is really going to try to take advantage of the deficiencies in the Arkansas secondary. If you're Arkansas, the way you try to counter that is put pressure on Bryce Young. If you can't sack him, try to make him uncomfortable and throw the ball before he wants to.
Yeah. Jimmy, we got Brad Logan on Logan Media Network. Brad, I know you got a tight window with a live shot coming up here shortly. Ole Miss to this point in the season, what's your report card on the Rebels? And then I will also talk a little about Mississippi State. Brad, can you hear us? Okay. I'll tell you right now, we're going to do this. Hopefully Brad Logan can call back in. But Jimmy, are you with us?
I am.
Okay. All right. Well, we're having a little bit of difficulty. Hopefully Brad can call in. But I just look at Ole Miss and Mississippi State, and I look at the SEC West, and I'm saying to myself, if you're Auburn and you're thinking, or you're struggling and you're thinking, well, we got the Mississippi schools, holy cow, they're both really good. And I think this Saturday, a game that again is kind of flying under the radar, and that is Texas A&M at Mississippi State this weekend. And that could be a big one. Brad Logan, you with us right now? Okay. And I think about that, this entire situation with the Mississippi schools, and Jimmy and Brad, there's so many possible scenarios that are going on, but Jimmy, tell me why you think Texas A&M beats Mississippi State in Starkville, and why Mississippi State defends the home turf against the Aggies. All right, we're going to be talking about, Mississippi State and Ole Miss. I'll tell you what. Looking okay, and okay. Well, all right. Let's see here. But I'm just looking at Mississippi State right now, and I'm saying to myself that Mike Leach in year 3, they should be a lot better. And I'm thinking to myself, all right. I'm thinking, okay, what is it about them that makes me think Mike Leach is gonna beat A&M this weekend? I mean, I think that's going to be a tough out. Brad Logan Media Network is on with us right now. And Brad, sorry about the little technical issues right there, but let's talk about Ole Miss up to this point in the season. And then I do want to talk a little about Mississippi State. We only have a few minutes, so let's go.
Yeah. Yes. Can you hear me now?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Sorry about little technical difficulties there with that, but let's go.
Yeah. Well, I think number one, the thing Ole Miss is going to be looking for is who's going to be able to play. Right now, questionable is the center Caleb Warren, along with running back Zach Evans. And the defensive side of the ball is Kenkari Coleman, the linebacker that's played incredibly well, the junior transfer. Can he go? Those are the main things that everyone's kind of looking at. Of course, Luke Altmaier, the backup quarterback, is dealing with a shoulder issue. So definitely some questions, along with J.J. Pegues, one of the most talented defensive tackles for Ole Miss, a junior transfer out of Auburn, has been dealing with a lower body injury. I have been told that Pegues and Coleman should be ready to go, along with running back Zach Evans. The question mark is going to be Caleb Warren. If that happens, you'll expect guard Eli Acker to step down and play the center position there, and Mason Brooks to transfer to play that right tackle slot. So that's kind of what we're looking at right now in regards to the injury report. I think more than anything, Ole Miss is finally going to face a team that has a pulse. Tulsa, Georgia Tech, Central Arkansas, Troy, neither of those teams were very good. And they've got a Kentucky team coming in here under Mark Brooks, under Mark Stoops, that's done a phenomenal job the last couple of years. I know you've seen the graphic. Ole Miss and Kentucky both 15-3 after the last 18 games. That's phenomenal at two programs that aren't historically, successful in football, that have had kind of up and down years. So I think this game's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I think for someone in maybe Dubuque, Iowa, or maybe someone in San Francisco that's kind of looking in for college football, they turn on ESPN at 11 o'clock. I think they'll be entertaining nonetheless.
Looking around right now, Jackson Dart as a quarterback, Zach Evans, Kenshawn Judkins, a lot of defensive linemen. How good can this Ole Miss team be, and can they win more games at this point? And obviously, they're 4-0, but they hadn't played any conference games. Can they win more games than last year's team? I put my floor for Ole Miss at a minimum of 8 wins, but with this running game, I think anything's possible.
I actually think the window is much wider than that. I think it's more along the lines of a 6-6 is the floor, and maybe a 10-2 is the ceiling, because you look at what Ole Miss has upcoming. You've got a Kentucky team that's really good. I think you could. Here's the deal. This is what I've been telling people over the last week, over the shows I've been on, is if you're going to have a great season, you have to beat Kentucky. Ole Miss can get away with having a pretty good season if it loses to Kentucky, with Vanderbilt and Auburn coming up. The good news for Ole Miss is they've got Auburn coming in. Auburn is really reeling right now, but you've got to go to LSU. Ole Miss historically, I could point to a number of games where the crowd has kind of overcame Ole Miss. You go back in the 2015 season when Bo Wallace took a really good team down there and they lost 10-7. Texas A&M, Ole Miss has had some success against the Aggies, but you have to go all the way to College Station. That's not going to be easy. Ole Miss hosts Alabama. They've got to go to Fayetteville, where they haven't won since 2008. It's a very difficult place to play. And the last game of the year is, of course, against Mississippi State, where I can assure you, Mike Leach understands he needs to win this game if he's going to stay the head coach at Mississippi State. I don't think there's any doubt about it. The Bulldogs need to beat Ole Miss to solidify Mike Leach as their head coach. So suffice to say, this thing could go south really quick, or if Ole Miss can win against Kentucky, get some momentum against Auburn and Vanderbilt, I think it sets up for a really big game at LSU when the Tigers are down a little bit. I mean, this thing could go so many different directions, but I think the 4, 6-6, I really do. But I think they can win as many as 10 if they get some things together.
You talked last year brilliantly about Zach Arnett, defensive coordinator at Mississippi State, and Mike Leach. Again, everybody looks out of the rearview mirror. That's just a human tendency. But this year, this is an interesting team. They had that Mississippi State had that LSU game, everything going their way. And then they talk about Jordan Hare voodoo, Tiger Stadium voodoo as well, kicked in. They gotten a lot better since then. And I can't, this A&M matchup, I go back to October 4th of 2014. That morning, I was actually down in the Delta in Lambert, dove hunting. And we went to Abe's Barbecue in Clarksdale, And that's when that day, the greatest day, single day I can remember in Mississippi history. Later that day, Ole Miss beat Alabama. And earlier in the day, Mississippi State beat the 4th-ranked A&M Aggies. This game's way below the national radar, Brad.
Yeah, I mean, Mississippi State's won, I think, 5 out of the last 7, 4 out of the last 6, maybe. I don't know what the numbers are, but they're very much in Mississippi State's favor. They play the Aggies really well, and Texas A&M's going to get all they want in Starkville. Problem for Mississippi State is Texas A&M's their back's kind of against the wall. They beat now we've learned is not a very good Miami team last week or a couple of weeks ago, and then we saw that Texas A&M last week beat a pretty good Arkansas team. When Arkansas, I think Arkansas outplayed A&M, won 14, was up 14-0, and of course we know the field goal hits the top of the upright and caroms down, and they lose the game. It's just part of the Jimbo Fisher thing. I mean, I really can't put a finger on it. You talk about the voodoo from LSU. I mean, Jimbo Fisher's just got some type of spell on these SEC teams where he's outplayed them, and he somehow comes away, clean as a whistle in the wash. And so I think it's going to be tough for Mississippi State. The problem, Rob, we talk about how good Will Rogers is, and I think Dylan Johnson and Woody Marks are 2 of the best running backs in the conference. I mean, Mike is really running the football more than we've seen him do it. That offensive line's had some struggles. Obviously, you lose Charles Cross to the first round of the NFL draft. You're not going to prove at left tackle, but I think with Dollarville Johnson there, and they've got Cole Smith, and they've got some dudes that have been there for a while. I think the problem with Mississippi State is being comfortable with themselves. And what I mean by that is at LSU, they have that game fully in control. And sure hands, Williams, the receiver that catches everything that comes his way, fumbles the snap or fumbles the punt return. At that point, LSU and Jane Daniels goes on to score a touchdown, and you and I know the game was over. And then the problem is the Mississippi State players knew it was over. They've got to get that killer instinct. They had that a couple of years ago, and they had it to some extent last year. They've got to get back to that. And I think with Will Rogers, he's a leader. He's a leader in a number of passing categories. I get all that. He's got to be a leader in the huddle. He's got to say, I don't care where we're playing. I don't care if it's Tiger Stadium. I don't care if it's Scott Field. And I don't care if it's, against Alabama, the number 1 ranked team in the country. We're Mississippi State. We're going to throw it around the yard. We're going to have some fun. We're going to win some games. And I think the moment was too big for Will Rogers and Mississippi State at LSU. I think they succumbed to pressure. And I think that's a dangerous situation for Mike Leach in his 3rd year. I think they're talented enough to win a number of games. I really do. And you know what? They might. They may beat A&M this Saturday. But they cannot allow a moment to get over them. And I think they did that at LSU. They've got to get over that.
Yeah, you're right. All right, let's head back over to Oxford. Y'all will be setting up out in the Grove, your game day TV show, which is outstanding. Big one. I mean, but it's the 11 a.m. timeout game. Again, that's just that's shameful. That ought to be a prime time game at the Vault. And you're talking Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin is a threat to beat anybody. And with the defensive line and the depth they have, 13, 14 guys that have had 25 or 30 snaps each this season. And DJ Durkin's gone to A&M, but man, this Ole Miss team with their running game, Lane Kiffin is proving what a great coach he is by his adaptability to whatever he needs to do. He'll do it. He's not stubborn, is he?
Well, real quick, just to give the Rebel fans and then anyone that's listening kind of a tutorial about what's happened. I reached out to some ESPN people. And this is, while it's not in the evening, this is absolutely a primetime game. This is an 11 o'clock game with a major player in town with ESPN and SEC Game Day and that sort of thing. So you're coming out of the lead-in out of College Game Day. You're the number 1 game on ESPN. You've got Sean McDonough, Todd Blackledge in town.
Yeah, okay.
Now, it's probably going to draw as many eyes as Auburn and LSU. It's just not the evening game. So it's a cash cow for ESPN. It's a big game, but you're right. It's 11 o'clock. But the weather's supposed to be really nice, and it's a sold-out crowd. I expect a huge crowd.
I mean, Brad, I absolutely – Oxford is just an incredible place, and I love going to Starkville. Like I said, I've been to 37 games in Starkville, 52 games at Ole Miss, and 190-something Auburn games. I'm going to tell you what, that atmosphere down there, 11 o'clock. The people are going to just get up earlier, but if Ole Miss wins, that party afterwards it's going to be heard around the South. I mean, I think the Ole Miss, they are so hungry. They went on the road and destroyed Georgia Tech. Tulsa, I think Tulsa was a good out for them the week before a game like Kentucky. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, it was a different game when Davis Brin was in there. I mean, he led Tulsa down the field a couple of drives and scored touchdowns, and I think that's what Will Levis is going to do. I think they laid a perfect game plan to beat Ole Miss. I mean, I think Mark Stoops probably saw what Tulsa did offensively when they were really picking on Ole Miss.
Yeah. Yeah, didn't mean to cut you short. I know you got that 15 after out. So Logan Media Network, tell people how they follow you.
Yeah, at Brad Logan COT on Twitter. And then, of course, our pregame show on WRED and WJTV. And we picked up 2 more CBS affiliates, so we're continuing to grow.
I absolutely love it. And I'm so proud of you and happy for you. Let's do this again next week. Thanks so much. We'll take a quick break. Be right back.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
Rob Browne back here with you on Sidelines on this Thursday going into week 5 college football. A great segment there with Brad Logan in this business. Got tight windows. He had a 15 after live shot. Does a lot of TV all over Mississippi out of Jackson. Of course, they've got WREG up in Memphis, the CBS affiliate in my hometown. College football, that's what they do. If you're an Ole Miss fan, you're a fan of any school, you're going to Ole Miss in the Grove, right outside the stadium on the edge. You'll see the live TV setup there. It's a game day type setup. That's what it is. Brad Logan, Logan Media Network. I like to say all things Mississippi, covering the Rebels, Mississippi State. He can pivot and go down, cover Jackson State, Alcorn State, Southern Miss. He covers all of the schools in Mississippi. Boots on the ground, absolutely true grit journalism. Hey, I want to say thanks to all of our great sponsors, folks. We're broadcasting live from Red River Ford Toyota in Wynne, Arkansas, open Monday through Saturday, 9 a.m., 6 p.m. They had a Ford Shelby Cobra in here for a couple of days on the showroom floor. I mean, that thing looked like an F-18 for a vehicle because it sold quickly. But used cars, trucks, SUVs, over 700 in inventory. Check them out on the website, RedRiverFordToyota.com, and they will deliver vehicles anywhere. They do it all the time. Dallas, Jacksonville, Memphis, Little Rock, Nashville, Birmingham, Dothan, Mobile, Atlanta, you name it, they will deliver. They're great folks to deal with. Service department open on Saturdays, 7:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. And again, the great folks, ECS House Industries in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, right in the heart of the Delta. Check them out, ECS House Industries on the website. The better roller, the pulverizer. They also make the aerators for aquaculture, the catfish farms that you see all over the South. That's where they make the equipment. Check with your local ECS House Industries dealer. They got a great slogan, "We dig the smell of fresh dirt in the morning." And another one of our great sponsors, Gateway Tire and Service Centers. We go the distance for our customers and the communities where we do work. That is Gateway Tires. And Tom Martin's Body Shop, Love them. G.E. Patterson and B.B. King, and Hewlett and Dunn Boot and Clothing Company on the historic square in Collierville, Tennessee. Yellowstone will be starting. I think it starts the first week of November. All those great clothes they have on there. Rips jacket. You like that jacket? They got it at Hewlett and Dunn Boot and Clothing Company on the historic square, Collierville, Tennessee. HewlettandDunn.com. Damian Mitchell will be on here with us in just a minute. Jocks 94.5 FM in Birmingham. And I will say this college football season, man, the fans, the appetite, you can't get enough of these big games. I watched a replay of this past Saturday's Florida-Tennessee game. And every time you watch a game that you just watched, you see a lot of things you didn't see the first time you watched it. You think about coaches in their offices watching tape, dissecting, breaking down plays, what they call in the military an after-action review, AAR, and you start seeing tendencies that you develop as a team, and that's what your opponents see. So, I love to get and break down the games, talk to the coaches, the players, the people that have been there, and for them, they'll always tell you that when a guy comes in as a freshman, he could be a 4-star, 5-star, could be not rated. The game is really fast going from high school to college. But once you begin to get a grasp of the playbook on offense, defense, it slows down. You say, what do you mean? You don't want to be slow. That's not what it means. It's just you're not scared and your hair's not on fire, okay? But I want to tell you right now, this guy's hair is on fire. He's up about, 4:30 in the morning. Reveille, rise and shine. Damian Mitchell, Jocks 94.5 FM in Birmingham. Hey, I got to tell you, I was on the way down from Auburn, Tuscaloosa, back to Auburn the Saturday morning, the Auburn-Penn State game. I was with Dr. Waller May, the May Veterinary Clinic, Tuscaloosa and Northport, one of our sponsors, Damian. And I said, where is Maplesville? And he said, well, I mean, it's not really there. You got to get off of Highway 82. I wanted to stop there and say, y'all know Tommy Agee and you know Damian Mitchell, don't you? How far off of 82 is Maplesville? Now, that is pulpwood country. A lot of great Americans from there.
Yeah, so like Highway 82 runs slap through the town. So like if you were to like yawn or sneeze too quick and you look up and it's like, oh, there's Maplesville, then you kind of drift back down and look back up, you've missed the whole entire town. Like it's that far. It's right down Highway 82. And you have 3, I guess you say, quote unquote, exits you can get off of and to get to the town. Other than that, you keep it moving.
Okay, so it's a lot like Sylacauga. All these thousands of trips, it seems like, back and forth from Auburn to Memphis. And last year got off of 280 and went down into Sylacauga, where Radio Alabama and Lee Perryman's headquarters are on Norton. I was like, my God, this place looks like Telluride, Colorado. It's you've got the mountains. I will say this, that central Alabama area around Birmingham and Sylacauga. And as you go up 21 to 20 there to get on I-20 there at Oxford, they got a Publix. I always know things by where they have a Publix. That's where I could get my Miss Rubin's rubs and those great sub sandwiches. But anyway, Damian, thanks for taking time out of your morning. I know you had a great show this morning, 6 to 7. You're on with Greg McElroy and Cole Kubelik a lot. Really love to get your take. And right now, Auburn's got a big one coming up. I hate to say that. They're all big. They got a game with LSU Saturday night, 6 o'clock at Jordan-Hare. We've been talking about Alabama going out to Arkansas. But I don't know if hold on a second. We got to stop for a second. Aaron Judge is getting dressed. Okay, I'm sorry. I mean, how many times during the Auburn game the other? It was painful enough to be watching that one, and they kept doing split screen. I love baseball, but if I wanted to watch him bat, I'd have been watching it on another channel.
Exactly.
We're trying to be all things to all people. But are y'all talking any college football down there in Birmingham? Let me
every day of the week, man. Like you said, we're prepping for Auburn and LSU, which is kind of taking an interesting turn now since we've seen how Auburn has looked the past 4 games of the season so far, and they're kind of on 2 different spectrums. Where LSU right now is slowly but surely starting to figure it out. And Auburn's on the complete opposite end because nobody knows what's going on as far as how quarterback is play is concerned. We know the offensive line is struggling, and outside of Tank, I mean, offensively, there's no explosive. There's no way you can get with your offensive line being as inconsistent as they are. So, I mean, for LSU, you kind of come in kind of licking your chops a little bit of, okay, we can catch him wounded. We get him at home. We open up as the favorite. So if we're going to get him, we might as well get him now.
Yeah, and I said this on Twitter the other day. God, please make more Derek Halls, number 29.
Yeah.
I love that guy. I mean, he runs out on the field through the tunnel, holding the American flag. He is a winner. He's a warrior. I don't know what he's getting his degree in, but wherever he goes, great things are going to happen. Cartavius Tank Bigsby, I love him. Hogansville, Georgia, over there in Troup County, Callaway. You've got warriors on that team. Damian, you've got a great football mind, IQ, whatever you want to call it. You've even been to Sylacauga, the marble capital of the world. I got to ask you, man, what's going on with Eric Keesaw? I think Auburn's entire offensive playbook could be put on a Post-it note.
No, I completely agree with you, man. But it starts up front, starts in the trenches, man. Really and truly, when you have a transfer from Akron that's starting on your offensive line, you got multiple injuries just at your center position. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult, especially here in the SEC, and just the expectation level of what you're going to see week in and week out from defensive lines and the front seven. And offensively, if it can't get started on the offensive line, there's no telling how many playmakers you do have that can make plays because they're not getting enough time in the pocket, not being able to set up run blocks. Greg was reading off a stat earlier this week on Mac and Cube where he was saying that Tank Bigsby ranks like in the bottom tier of running backs of yards before contact, because it's basically he had, I think, less than 1 yard before he was getting touched, like just from getting touched right off of a handoff. But he was in the top half of running backs in yards after contact because, again, he's just making plays off of his pure ability. And passing the ball, I mean, you just look at the quarterback position. Nobody can get to the playmakers consistently. And, I mean, the Auburn receivers, I mean, there's no telling how good they really can be because they're not getting their fair share. And when it comes to route running and setting up things, it takes time. And it starts up front. It starts in the trenches, man, when it comes down to it.
Yeah. Damian, Jason Caldwell, Inside the Auburn Tigers, was on with us last Friday talking about, and I said, in the last 4 years, how many offensive linemen have Auburn's big three, LSU, Georgia, and Alabama signed? And how many offensive linemen has Auburn signed? And he said, well, Georgia, LSU, and Alabama have signed like 20, 23, and 25. Auburn, 9. They got some from the portal, got some from junior college, but that's coaching malpractice, Damian.
Yeah, like it's stop number one. If you can't get them there, if you can't get the Jimmies and Joes there, you're never going to have a fair shot, especially where you want to be versus where you actually are. And like you said, they're signing 20 and 5 4-stars, and Auburn settling for the 3-star, center or the 3-star guard. And like you said, the transfer portal from places that they haven't seen where the SEC is. Yeah, you put yourself in a disadvantage from the jump.
Yeah. And all right, let's switch gears now. And I want to look around and go up to Knoxville. My wife, Evolve for Life. I think that I've got to get another lab, but we may even get another, may have to get a blue tick hound to keep her happy. Smokey and the Vols. Smokey and the Miracles. That game, I had picked Tennessee to win 38-17. About 6 minutes left, 5 minutes, 43 seconds left. I'm looking pretty good. It's 38-21. But the Gators, there's no quitting these guys. I look at Hendon Hooker, man. I saw him interviewed yesterday. Paul Feinbaum had him on his show. Man, and I know he left Virginia Tech, and that's where my brother-in-law played football, and 2 nieces and a nephew graduated from Tech. I'm a big Hokie, but, man, this kid's already got a degree, getting a master's, very strong Christian faith. What's not to like about this guy? He's incredible. And then I look at Anthony Richardson, our friends Buddy Martin, Ben Troop, Franz Beard, GatorBetMedia.com, the Buddy Martin Show. They've been talking since last year about Anthony. First road game. Wow. I think he got I'd give him a B+. They didn't get the win, maybe an A-. What do you think about Anthony Richardson? Because he held his own in Neyland.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt that the talent is there for Anthony Richardson. This was the first game really all season that we saw him put it together. And it kind of depends on how much stock you put on Tennessee's defense as well. Tennessee is not really looked at as one of the tougher defenses in the conference. They rank in the bottom half in a lot of yardage and yardage allowed, and also passing yards allowed. So Anthony Richardson finally put it together, and I think that was a good game plan they had for him. But on Hendon Hooker, on the other hand, I have been a big Hendon Hooker guy really since last year, because I thought the system in which he plays with on Rocky Top really benefits everything that he has as a package from a standpoint. When you look at accuracy, you look at command, you look at pocket presence, everything is geared towards his game, and having those big home run shots really at any point during the game really helps him out as well. But back to Anthony Richardson, he is a great talent without a doubt. When you look at just his pure natural ability, being able to plays that he was even throwing it away, he was just athletically just getting in positions where he's just contorting his body all different ways and being smart with the football, similar to what Hendon Hooker is. I said going into this season, if Bryce Young was not playing quarterback, we would be drooling over what Hendon Hooker does at the quarterback position. But to me, I think he's hit clear head and shoulders, if not in a better argument for number one in the conference at quarterback with Bryce Young, but he's definitely sure locked in at number two.
Well, our good friend Mark Ham, Rocky Top Tennessee Tailgate Report up in Knoxville, in the preseason evaluations and looking at Tennessee, said with the offense that Josh Heupel and Tennessee run, you're going to see in Knoxville at Neyland Stadium on many Saturdays a very happy Hooker. And he is just been, and I guess that's Mark's line. I have to say that, but that's our cousin Mark. But, I look to Tennessee. That is, again, when the Vols are rolling in that orange and white checkerboard stadium, and that Pride of the Southland band comes out and forms that giant T, and this crowd of some 102,000 is rising to their feet on the banks of the Tennessee River, the Vol Navy, everybody is at attention, and they come running on that field. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's what you've got. They talk about John Ward, the legendary voice, would say it's football time in Tennessee. Something great is happening up on the hill in Knoxville. Let's switch gears, head down to Athens. I'm a huge Stetson Bennett IV fan. I think he's better than he was last year, but ain't no easy way in life, as Coach Dye would say. Ain't no easy way. You got to work for everything you get. They had a little bit of a scare. I think that's probably good if you're Georgia, because you're not going to beat everybody like you beat South Carolina the week before. Talk about Stetson, his development, and why you think Georgia, you could argue, is better at this point than they were last year, or not.
Yeah, especially it starts with Stetson Bennett IV, a guy that he truly understands that he has the team rally behind him. There's no more question marks of, oh, well, if he slips up, JT may get a chance. Oh, is JT still lingering around there? JT Daniels, a guy that transferred in last year. But Stetson's confidence is that of, I'm the starting quarterback. I've won a national championship. I know what it takes. Just follow me. On top of having Brock Bowers to throw to, on top of having Washington and just a group of just wonderful tight ends. A.D. Mitchell, who's come back from injury, a guy at the receiver position who is a game changer. Georgia just knows who they are, and they understand defensively that's going to be their strong suit. And going back to Kent State was doing, just about everything. They had nothing to lose. They know they're going into it, it's David versus Goliath. They know they had nothing to lose. So they're giving everything they possibly can. And that's really what Georgia is starting to realize. Like, every single week, you're going to get everybody's top. You're going to get everybody's best every single week. And again, it's best to have teams have games like this early on. And it's only September. That's what we got to realize. It's only September. These guys are just now getting into the groove of everything. But it's best to have it right now than when you're in week 9, 10, or, when you're going against Kentucky and you're in a dogfight and it's like, man, you're supposed to be head and shoulders better than this team and you're having to stumble. But it's best to get it over with in week 4, week 3, to see where your team is at this point forward. And I think Georgia, they got that wake-up call and realized there's some chinks in the armor that we can work out. And there's situations like this in every team and in every successful program, successful organization, that you're going to have stumbles like this. But they still won the ball game. That's all that matters. When it comes down to it, it is that final that final score in the box score.
It's better to be alive than not. Absolutely right. We're going to take a quick break. Rob Browne talking with Damian Mitchell, Jocks 94.5 FM. He's been to Sylacauga. He's not from there. He's from Maplesville off Highway 82. Next time I'm going into town, and I'm going to find somebody that knows you. We'll be right back with more Sidelines after this quick break.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
Right, got some big ones going on. Oxford, 11 a.m. We had Brad Logan of Logan Media Network on, covers Ole Miss, and also knows a lot about Mississippi State. That's the 11 a.m. game. Sean McDonough, Todd Blackledge coming in. I argued, that should be a prime time game. 11 o'clock in the morning in the South, especially early when it's 100 degrees, I call it, we remember from having kids and being a kid, the timeout game before you got backhanded. But I think I want your thoughts on Kentucky. Here they are sitting at 7, 8 in the country. They went on the road and won at Florida. That was a good win because Florida went on the road and fought to the end. And you say, well, it wasn't as close as the score or whatever. But I think this Ole Miss Kentucky matchup, you can argue on either side, but I like Ole Miss because their running game is better. Now, Chris Rodriguez is back for Kentucky, and the pride of Wetumpka, Alabama, Cavassier Smoke, one of the great names out there. He's a good one too. Argue for or against what I just said, but I pick Ole Miss to win 31-17.
No, I don't think that's far-fetched at all. I agree with you as far as Kentucky. This is their first real test. I understand that Florida still has some deficiencies on offense because outside of Anthony Richardson, I feel as though they're still kind of in that middle tier when it comes to playmakers outside of 15. So I kind of didn't really get a great gauge on how Kentucky is structured offensively and defensively. But this is their biggest test. I'm not really sold on Will Levis. Yes, I understand that he has a strong arm. I feel as though he's kind of got that Matthew Stafford in him where he believes in his arm a little too much at times and he puts himself in harm's way. Offensively too, you look at where Kentucky is, they're actually one of the most sacks team in the league right now. When you look at, Will Levis kind of eating some plays, offensive line has showed a few inconsistent moments, and running the ball, they haven't really done a strong job of that and putting a lot on Will. And I think where Ole Miss has made strides defensively. I understand that you look at their 4-0 record right now and kind of look at the competition that they played, but they still have a shutout on their record. No matter how you look at it, Ole Miss has been one of the most inconsistent defenses. It really true. They've been bad over the past few years, and it's really been the offense that's been carrying the load. But right now they're starting to have, some moments of bright spot, a few bright spots defensively. And I like how, everybody questioned Ole Miss coming into the season as far as how they're going to replace Matt Corral and so much firepower in that offense. They've done it running the ball. They're not putting that much on Luke Altmaier and Jackson Dart at the quarterback position. You got Evans, and you also got the other kid from Park Crossing down there in Montgomery that's running the ball as well. So I think their identity has changed, but they're still executing at a high level. And Saturday is going to be the first test for really both of those teams there on the field. And again, I think it should have been a primetime game, but 11 o'clock you just got to play whenever the time is.
Oh, you're right. And also Quinshon Judkins, you're talking about that running back.
Judkins.
Our friend Yancey Porter, Rebel Yell Hotline in Oxford, covers Ole Miss as well, said that one day Nick Saban, when asked who's the one player in state that you didn't pursue, that you regret not pursuing, he said it's going to be Quinshon Judkins. But he and Zach Evans, that's a powerful punch. You don't know who's first or second. I think it's just like they used to have a couple of players in the late 80s, Thunder and Lightning. They are that good. They're a fantastic duo. And you're right, takes the pressure off the quarterback when you can turn around, hand the ball off, and they're good enough on the offensive line. Them in Arkansas, as good as it gets in the SEC when it comes to running the ball. Let's switch to Starkville. Scott Field, I just look at this game. A&M, man, they got away with one against Arkansas. That game, that hurts Arkansas and their mindset going into Alabama. They're coming out fighting, but they can't let that game beat them 2 weeks in a row. But Mississippi State, this is the opportunity, in my opinion, for Mike Leach and Mississippi State to say, hey, we belong in that conversation as the team that can challenge Alabama, because preseason I picked Arkansas, not A&M. So how do you see this one in Starkville on Saturday? Because it'll be a raucous and wild and crazy deal there in Starkville.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think if you're Arkansas, you're kicking yourself, but you can't kick yourself too much because of what you have this Saturday coming in Alabama. And for A&M, you'll ride the momentum no matter how you take it. A W is a W. And I think if you're Jimbo Fisher, you lost to Nia Smith in this game. That is a huge, huge miss right there. For you talk about offensive identity for a team that really, I mean, they've just sputtered at times during games, whether you look at the quarterback position, not being able to just completely dominate and run the ball. Devon Achane had a great game last week, but he hasn't put it together consistently on a consistent basis. And for Mississippi State, I think defensively, this is the best team defensively that Texas A&M has seen so far. I think Miami showed them at times that they can play with them. And then you look at App State, just because of they milked the clock so much. It wasn't like they just lined up and just completely dominated defensively. I think it was more along the lines of Texas A&M still figuring things out offensively. Right now, Mississippi State, Will Rogers picking up right where you left off offensively. You got that one loss on their record in LSU. I think that was just more them shooting themselves in the foot than LSU actually truly just taking away from it. You can look at the scoreboard and it says a little otherwise, but if you watch the game, you'll see. But Mississippi State, this is a big opportunity to kind of rearrange everything, kind of just look and see where you are physically. Because I do think going into this game, no matter what the record shows, I do think Mississippi State is the better team. But now Texas A&M, on top of, finally having Max Johnson at that starting quarterback role, but you lose Nia Smith, and it kind of puts you in that one dimension of, okay, we've got Devon Achane, but now we've got to go against and find playmakers that haven't really proven anything outside of just what Nia Smith was doing for you offensively. So it's going to be interesting. Texas A&M is going to come in a little bit more wounded than people think. So it's up to Mississippi State to come in and really maximize those opportunities.
Well, and I just still question why Jimbo Fisher was trying to force Haynes King on the A&M team as their quarterback. Yeah. Last year, he got hurt in the Colorado game in week 2 out in Denver. He's just not that good. And I mean, I think his dad is a big-time guy in Texas high school football. And I'm just going to be brutally honest. If you're playing him because, you think that can help you in recruiting or whatever, I think Jimbo Fisher, I like him. I don't have anything against him, but he's just not that good. And Max Johnson, and again, I say about Zach Calzada, why did he not want to be at A&M if he didn't think he could beat out Haynes King?
Right.
He's at Auburn and he's hurt now. That's in the weird category. Okay. Ripley's Believe It or Not. We'll get to that later. But Max Johnson, the thing that you worry about with him, you let that guy, the son of Brad Johnson, Florida State Seminole, Super Bowl winning quarterback for Tampa Bay, you let him stand in the pocket and have time to check off his second and third reads. That's trouble. And that's where A&M is now. But, we saw it against Arkansas. They were lucky to get that win in a de facto home game, even though it's called a neutral site. Mm-hmm. Again, this is just a strange setup. I look for Mississippi State to explode Saturday and use those 3 and 4 yard little passes across the line of scrimmage as a de facto running game. But here's the catch. I think, Damian, they've got a much better running game than the average football fan gives credit for.
Yeah, and that's the thing about Mississippi State. They're actually searching for the run game at times. Like there are specific moments on the football field where they are intentionally trying to run the football. And I think that really helps in them kind of finding their balance a little bit, and kind of like teetering with that air raid system a little bit. Another fun fact, there's another Maplesville connection on Mississippi State. You look at their linebacker core, number 14, Buki Watson, Maplesville kid, another Maplesville kid.
Oh, God.
We're everywhere, man.
Anybody from Maplesville, there's something they have in common. It's a work ethic. I mean, that's,
oh yeah,
that is, you're right. You cannot beat these kids from these small towns. I tell you what, Mississippi State, that's a fun program to watch. And you talked about a fan base that absolutely is married to the dirt. They don't love the teams. They love the bricks, the mortar, the grass, the dirt. That's an ag school. That's your Auburn. That's your Texas A&M. There's a special relationship, and they do really well recruiting these small town kids, not just in Mississippi, but you look at Alabama high school football, Damian, this year. Let's talk about it. Thompson down there in Alabaster, are they the new Hoover? I don't know. They won 3 straight state championships, but they lost their first 2 games. Talk about this high school class, 22 4-stars in Alabama this year, 7 5-stars. It is a generational class, but next year I'm hearing could be pretty darn good as well.
Yeah, man, when you look at high school football in the state of Alabama, I think what really helps is the fact that Auburn and Alabama both, consistent on a consistent basis are pretty good. And a lot of people want to stick with those hometown teams. But when you look at how high school development in general, you're getting a lot of guys that have coached at bigger schools, have coached in college and things. They're coming back to high schools and coaching up these guys and really teaching them some different types of nuances in the game where they're learning in a different way. Like the game that they grew up watching is completely different from what they're playing now. So there's a lot of things when you look at just the superior, just athletes, you're seeing guys, committing when they're at early ages, and they're getting a lot of playing time. They're freak athletes all over the field. And yeah, Thompson, they came out. That's one of the schools when you look at, how many players they've gotten a chance to ship out into the college football ranks. You look at Talia Tungavailoa up there in Maryland, doing his thing. He's a Thompson grad. And really just kind of looking at the high school sports in general and just where you can get them. And again, when you look down there at the 1As and the 2As, there's always some diamonds in the rough. And you look at Nathaniel Watson again. I can't brag enough about him. When you talk about Mississippi State and how they find those guys, they go out to the country. They're trying to get these guys they're just dogs. They just work. And I think that's what kind of separates the Alabama high school athlete from a lot of people. It's just we're almost bred for it. We're bred to work. We're around it so much that it just becomes it's a natural thing for us is to work hard and grind and just we see the success when it comes to a lot of these colleges, and they have Alabama players.
Yeah, I go back to 2013, the Iron Bowl, Bama 1, Auburn 4, the kick 6 year. There was a very good article. I think it was on AL.com talking about the changing landscape of recruiting. It said both Auburn and Alabama then had players from I think both of them, 20 different states. All right. Go back 15, 20 years earlier, back in the 90s, it would be 65%, 70% in state for Alabama. Auburn, somewhere like that, but Georgia is de facto a part of Auburn anyway because Lee County's on the line, and then Florida. And I look at recruiting. We just have a few minutes left, Damian. If I'm the Auburn coaches, I'm going out there. If there's any doubt about recruiting some kid, 1,000 miles away, or taking a 3-star in-state kid from a town like Maplesville, a town like Wetumpka, a town like Clanton, Alabama. I'm taking that kid any day because you know why? He can never quit on you because he goes home the rest of his life. They'll say, "Hey, man, Damian, why'd you quit?" You'll be answering that question the rest of your life.
For the rest of your life.
Yeah. And you played D3 ball at Birmingham Southern, but you know what? You graduated. You were a track and field guy. You hung in there and you fought. And you never quit, and people respect that. I still remember when I met you. Back late August at that Coach Safely dinner, the reaction, Tommy Agee sees you, man. I mean, you Maplesville guys are tight.
Hey, that's it.
But there's a connection between people that we're all talking about how close we are to our families, but I've never seen anything like it when military people, veterans. They haven't seen each other in 20 years, but if they were in combat together, there is a bond. Okay. So you put that up on another level, but working hard in sports, hard work in life, you can overcome anything in this world, but man, there's a powerful connection. And I would lean on these kids in the state of Alabama. It's the number 6 state in America, Damian, for producing high school football. They play great high school football down there. Why in the world would you not lean on your home state?
It really comes down to it. It's all about the relationships and the connections that you make. And I think that what Auburn has, really what Harsin has done is not really made those connections here locally to try to keep, those guys at home. Like it's real. I think it's real simple to just go out in your backyard, be able to recruit Auburn. It should be easy to recruit Auburn. It's like, hey guys, you probably have a granddad, an uncle, or aunt or something that's gone to this school. And they preach Auburn family. They preach Auburn family. Doesn't really feel much family like if you're not being able to recruit the guys in your backyard to stay home.
Yeah. Damian, you know what the secret weapon that Auburn and Mississippi State have for recruiting these kids from these small towns? The county extension agents. The agriculture.
That's it.
in every county, they know everybody. They know these people, these guys that grow up working in the country, working on the farm. I mean, I live in Memphis, but I'm over at the cherry farm all the time, about 30 minutes away. This is the breadbasket of America: rice, corn, milo, beans. I mean, you don't work 8 to 5. We took food. MJ and I, he wanted to do it. We took food. We took chicken, bacon wrap, dove breast stuffed with jalapeno peppers, cream cheese, and diced onions. We took the chicken. We took food out to these guys. They just inhale it. And I go, when are y'all going to get through? And they said, when we're done. And I said, we got about 800 acres of beans we got to cut by tomorrow morning before this rain comes in. You can't make this kind of stuff up. Damian, let me tell you something. Love having you on. About out of time. Love your energy. Tell people how they can follow you there in Birmingham and what y'all will be talking about tomorrow morning.
Oh, yeah, man. You can follow us at all of our social medias at Jocks94.5. You can follow me personally at RunDM and the number 6. There on Twitter at Damian.Mitchell on Instagram. And really and truly, we set the tone for the weekend, man. We're going to do a deep dive into Alabama, Arkansas, kind of seeing what the mismatches are there and how Alabama can continue their winning ways. And Arkansas, if they can, turn their tide around and kind of salvage this season. And also we have Auburn, going to dive into Auburn LSU, the battle of the Tigers again in week 2. And if Harsin's going to have his job going into the bye week, or if not, also we'll see if LSU, if they're for real. So we'll do a deep dive into that, and also other games there on the SEC, around the SEC, and also the college football landscape there on Jocks 94.5. You find me from 6 to 7 on Morning Jocks with Landry Robertson, also from 7 to 10 with Mac and Cube on McElroy and Cube in the morning, man.
Hey, look, love it. This is great stuff. Everybody, we're out here again Monday through Saturday, 2 hours every day. Also 680thefan.com, the podcast park in Atlanta. Kicks 96.3, Alexander City, Lake Martin. So thanks everybody listening. All of our great sponsors. We have been here live from Red River Ford Toyota Studios in Wynne, Arkansas, the city with a smile. And they are cutting everything around here. That's how you eat. Don't ever talk about farmers with your mouth full. Everybody, look, go out and help somebody with the expectation to get nothing in return. Most often we see the face of Christ in the least among us. And keep the people down in Florida in the path of that ugly hurricane in your prayers. There's a lot of things we're going to be asked to do to help. Reach out and help. Until then, folks, have a great day. We are out of here.